The House will come to order. Members, please take their seats. Sergeant at Arms.
The House is now in session. All persons not entitled to privileges of the floor, please retire to the gallery.
The members will rise and be led in prayer by Reverend Ben Campbell, St. Paul's Episcopal Church, Richmond, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which will be led by the delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
So let me say that St. Paul's is open all week long as a place of quiet. Nobody's going to bother you. And if you need a little time just to shake it off, go in there. It's across the street. And we pray at noon all year long for the General Assembly, the governor, the constitutional officers of this state. And while you're in session, every day at noon, we are praying for you. So know that that's happening. It's important, and you're important to all of us. So let's pray for today's session. Lord, while we have a moment to take a breath, we speak now out loud the constant prayers of our hearts that we may do right here. We've been given this opportunity. Help us to act effectively, carefully, and with determination. Help us to care for the Commonwealth, to protect the hope of the poor. Help us properly to identify the needs and opportunities you give us. Help us to identify and continue to remedy the mistakes of our forefathers and mothers. Help us to continue to build and establish justice and equity where they have been lacking. And in all of our deliberations, let us not fail to listen carefully to one another and to the simple truth you place in our hearts. We're grateful for this day, in this central place, in this important year. Thank you for this opportunity. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The members will answer the roll call by indicating their presence on the electronic voting board. The clerk shall close the roll.
Madam Speaker, a quorum is present.
Pursuant to House Rule 3, I have examined and approved the journal for the House of Delegates for Monday, February 3rd, 2020. Motions and resolutions under Rule 39, pursuant to provisions of Rule 40, are now in order. The clerk shall announce the first morning hour order of business, including any clerk's announcements and communications.
First morning hour order of business. Pursuant to House Rule 40, the Speaker requests members to use their request to speak buttons. I have no announcements.
The delegate from Pennsylvania, Delegate Adams.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
Delegate Adams, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Joining us in the House today are members from the ARC of Southside, and I'd ask that they stand. They are led today by Monica Kravanek, and you all have heard of other groups from the ARC and know of all the great work that they do, and I'm so pleased to be able to welcome members from my hometown, and I ask that you would also join in giving them a warm House welcome.
Welcome to the members from the ARC of Southside. Enjoy your day on Capitol Square. Thank you for your advocacy. The delegate from Culpeper, Delegate Freitas.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Delegate Freitas, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today in the gallery, we have students from the Orange Youth here in Orange County, Virginia. If they could please stand for us. So this organization does a lot of great work in making sure that students are plugged into various programs and have an opportunity to be able to work with their government officials both at the local level and here at the state in order to improve the lives of youth and all of our citizens in Orange County, Virginia. And you'll all be happy to know that they spent about 30 minutes grilling me with questions in my office and did an outstanding job. So I hope it'll be the pleasure of the House to give them a warm House welcome.
Welcome to the students from Orange County, the youth, and thank you for what you do, and especially thank you for grilling our colleague earlier today. The delegate from Richmond City, Delegate McQuinn.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise for introduction.
Delegate McQuinn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the invocation was given today by the Reverend Ben Campbell. Reverend Campbell has a long and rich history in the Richmond region, the Commonwealth, and beyond. And I just want to share a little information about Reverend Campbell that I'm sure some of my colleagues will appreciate. For decades, Reverend Campbell has been a champion of racial reconciliation, social justice, and ecumenical activities in Richmond. He worked forming Richmond Hill, an ecumenical residential retreat on Church Hill, and with the various boards and anti-poverty initiatives, has earned him a place among the respected movers and shakers, white and black. Reverend Campbell, who was instrumental in forming the Richmond Slave Trail, is a seventh-generation Virginian. His father was a civil rights lawyer, and his mother, and this is something that I'm sure some of you will appreciate, his mother was on Arlington County School Board that voluntarily tried to integrate schools after the U.S. Supreme Court landmark Brown versus the Board of Education ruling in 1954. The General Assembly, as we know, later adopted the massive resistance and stripped Arlington residents of the right to even elect a school board. But more about Reverend Campbell. He's transitioned out of the Richmond Hill position to help facilitate the next generation of leadership. But wherever there has been a community conversation, an event on building bridges between racial and economic groups in the Richmond area, Reverend Campbell has been there lending a helping hand. So there are many, many things that are said to be said about Reverend Campbell. One of the other things, he's a man of God, he's my friend, and I ask if you would join me in giving him a very warm General Assembly welcome. Thank you.
Welcome, and thank you so much, Reverend Campbell. Thank you for your invocation this morning and for all that you do for the community and on behalf of so many important issues. And we look forward to visiting with you. You're right across the street. Enjoy your day today. Delegate from Prince William, Delegate Carol Foy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
Delegate Carol Foy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today, I would like to introduce VOICE. VOICE is committed to bringing people together across religious, racial, ethnic, economic, and political party affiliations to build a stronger Northern Virginia and Commonwealth. Please give the members from VOICE a warm House welcome.
Welcome to the members of VOICE, the organizers. Thank you for what you do every day. Enjoy your day today. Delegate from Sussex County, Delegate Tyler.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
Delegate Tyler, you have the floor.
Thank you. With us today are 4-H's and their advisors from Greensville, Southampton, and Isle of Wight County. They are students who are visiting the General Assembly to learn about the legislative process. They may not have gotten in the gallery or they may be in the House room, but we certainly want to thank them for coming to the General Assembly. The students shared their stories of how their programs teaches them about developing relationships and helping them to build their confidence. They are certainly an advocate of the extension service programs at Virginia State University and Virginia Tech. So I just asked the House to join Delegate Brewer and I and welcome the 4-H's to the General Assembly.
Welcome to the 4-Hers. Hope they're enjoying their day here on Capitol Square, wherever they might be. Delegate Subramaniam.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today, joining us in the gallery, we have members of the Prince William County 4-H Club. I would ask them to rise if they're here. 4-H is America's largest youth development organization, supporting nearly 6 million youth across the country with the motto of Learn by Doing. 4-H has helped over 217,000 youth in the Commonwealth of Virginia to become confident, independent, resilient, and compassionate leaders. And so I ask the House to give them a warm House welcome.
Welcome to the Prince William County 4-H Club as well. Hope they're enjoying their day on Capitol Square. Delegate from Rockingham, Delegate Runyon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
Delegate Runyon, you have the floor.
Thank you. Madam Speaker and the members of the House, I would like to recognize some very special youth today joining us today. Members of the Augusta County 4-H Club, would you please rise if they've made it in? Excuse me. 4-H stands for Head, Heart, Hands, and Health, and the clubs strive to promote positive youth development through a variety of programs. I am pleased to report Augusta County's 4-H has several members of state and nationally ranked teams. We have a member from the Food Challenge team and 2 members from the Virginia State Archery team. Lastly, the Augusta County 4-H Animal Show is one of the largest animal shows this side of the Mississippi. I'm incredibly proud of these young men and women, and please join me in giving them a warm House welcome.
Welcome to the Augusta County 4-H group. I hope they're enjoying their day on Capitol Square as well. Delegate from Newport News, Delegate Mullen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise for an introduction.
Delegate Mullen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have with us in the gallery today some guests from the oldest part of my district in the Historic Triangle. Joining us are members of the Williamsburg Area Association of Realtors, and I'd ask that they stand if they're in the room. One of the most active and influential professional organizations in the region that supports home ownership and real estate profession in the cities of Williamsburg, James City County, New Kent County, and York County. Along with Delegate Batten and Delegate Wyatt, please join me in extending a warm House welcome to the members of the Williamsburg Area Association of Realtors.
Welcome to the members of the Williamsburg Association of Realtors. Hope they're enjoying their day on Capitol Square. The delegate from Washington, Delegate Wampler.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
Delegate Wampler, you have the floor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, today in the gallery we have several individuals from Dickinson County, which is the northernmost county of the 4th House District, here today to learn about what we do. They're also here representing the 4-H program in Southwest Virginia, and I would ask that they rise and please, if it'd be the pleasure of the House, give them a warm House welcome.
We have a very large contingent from 4-H today. Welcome to the Dickinson 4-H Club. Enjoy your day today. Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Sickles.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
Delegate Sickles, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Since 1989, Equality Virginia has served as the Commonwealth's leading advocacy organization for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender equality. For more than 30 years, they've sought to educate the public, provide resources, and empower the community to make their voices heard. They connect with elected officials, engage with business, increase transgender visibility, create safer schools, and strengthen our communities. And they do all of this in order to create a safe and welcoming Virginia, where LGBT people can live, work, and raise a family without fear of discrimination. If they're in the gallery, I'd ask them to rise. Equality Virginia is here today for their annual day of action with over 200 supporters from across the Commonwealth. They're here to advocate for many bills which are important to the LGBT community, including the Virginia Values Act, which I'm proud to carry. I know that many of you traveled quite a distance to be here today, and we are glad to see so many people engaged in the democratic process. Thank you for being here. We welcome all of you to the Capitol and applaud your advocacy this evening. Equality Virginia will host a legislative reception at the Library of Virginia from 5:30 to 7:30, and of course, everyone is welcome to attend. I hope to see you over there myself, and I hope my colleagues will give you a warm welcome to the Capitol here today.
Welcome, Equality Virginia. Thank you for being here. More importantly, thank you for your advocacy. Look forward to seeing you later. Delegate from Prince William, Delegate Rome.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
Delegate Rome, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Also joining us in Capitol Square today is Side by Side from here in Richmond. If any of them are in the gallery, if they could rise. If not, if they're wherever they are in the gallery today. Their Side by Side is dedicated to creating supportive communities where Virginia's LGBTQ youth can define themselves, belong, and flourish. So I had a really nice time speaking to them earlier today, and I would just ask the House to please give them a warm house welcome.
I hope the members of Side by Side are enjoying their day in Capitol Square as well. Delegate from Montgomery, Delegate Hurst.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
Delegate Hurst, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, in and around the Capitol today, we have leaders from several chapters of Virginia Organizing, and if any are in the gallery, I ask that they stand. In the gallery, we have members of the New River Valley, Hampton Newport News, Harrisonburg, and Richmond chapters. Virginia Organizing is a statewide, nonpartisan, grassroots organization dedicated to challenging injustice by empowering people in local communities to address issues that affect the quality of people's lives. In my district, the New River Valley's chapter members have been working to disrupt the school-to-prison pipeline, fight for environmental justice, and bring community members together for change. Virginia Organizing leaders have spent their morning advocating for a more just Virginia for all. Please join me in welcoming leaders from Virginia Organizing.
Welcome to Virginia Organizing and the New River chapter as well, and thank you for your advocacy and enjoy your day on Capitol Square. I know you all traveled far to be here. Delegate from Loudoun, Delegate Reed.
Madam Speaker, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Delegate Reed, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I believe today in the gallery we have members of Zero Carbon Virginia from Loudoun County, so if they're here, if you could stand up, please. Zero Carbon Virginia is a nonpartisan group of scientists, engineers, economists, and public health experts who seek pragmatic, cost-effective approaches to creating a sustainable energy economy. They are experts in their various fields, and they have been an invaluable resource for Loudoun County and for state and public officials who seek to lessen our reliance on fossil fuels and put us on a path towards zero carbon future. I hope it will be the pleasure of the House to give the members of Zero Carbon Virginia a warm house welcome.
Welcome to the members of Zero Carbon Virginia. Enjoy your day today. Delegate from Hanover, Delegate Fowler.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Delegate Fowler, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of the House, today we are joined by members of Virginia's 4-H shotgun development team. And if they're in the gallery, if they could stand, maybe. Ladies and gentlemen, this team finished first place at the 2019 4-H Shooting Sports National Championships in Grand Isle, Nebraska. They competed against 30 other teams and managed to beat the runner-up team from Texas. The members of the team hail from Mecklenburg, Powhatan, Nottoway, and Appomattox counties. Madam Speaker, I hope it will be the pleasure of the body to give the 4-H shotgun team their warm house welcome.
Welcome to the 4-H shotgun team, and congratulations on your success and your award. Pursuant to House Rule 30, the Journal shall reflect the following members are away on pressing and personal business and are granted leave from today's session. Delegate from Scott, Delegate Kilgore. The clerk shall announce the next order of business.
Second morning hour order of business. The next order of business is the announcement of member requests to move legislation from any uncontested to regular calendar. There is one item today, page 7, House Bill 942 moves to the regular calendar.
The clerk shall announce the next order of business.
Third morning hour order of business. The next order of business is the announcement of requests by members for legislation to go by the day and the subsequent motion by the majority leader. There is one item on this section, page 27, House Bill 134 goes by for the day.
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Madam Speaker, I move that the legislation is announced by the clerk go by for the day.
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring, moves that legislation is just announced by the clerk shall go by for the day. As many as favor that motion will say aye. Those opposed, the motion is agreed to. The clerk shall announce the next order of business.
Fourth morning hour order of business. The next order of business is recognition of member requests for points of personal privilege. Please use your request to speak buttons.
The delegate from Prince William, Delegate Torian.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Delegate Torian, you have the floor.
Madam Speaker and members of the House, I rise in recognition of Black History Month, in recognition of the fact that Black history is American history, that our story is the story of this country and this Commonwealth. I rise in celebration of the heroes of our past, those lesser known, and in celebration of the fact that Black history is present and ongoing. In particular, I want to recognize an organization and a group of men that exemplifies all of this. Henry McKee Minton was born in Columbia, South Carolina in 1870. He graduated from Phillips Exeter Academy, earned a pharmaceutical degree from the Philadelphia College of Pharmacy, and operated the first Black-owned drugstore in Philadelphia, becoming the first African American to graduate from Jefferson Medical College. Dr. Minton was Frederick Douglass Hospital's first pharmacist, later founded Mercy Hospital in Philadelphia, and eventually took a faculty position at Howard University Medical School. Dr. Minton and his associates were credentialed professionals, distinguished and ambitious. But at the turn of the century, they were legally excluded from elite white social and political organizations. So on a spring day in May 15th, 1904, Dr. Minton shared an idea with 3 colleagues, a fraternity to provide and maintain social and professional support to Black professionals. Within weeks, that idea became Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity, the nation's first Black Greek letter fraternity. In keeping with the high standards upon which the fraternity was founded, Sigma Pi Phi is also known as the Boule, meaning Council of Chiefs or Council of Noblemen. Past and present members of the Boule have been and continue to be leaders in the movement for justice and equality. Notable members include W.E.B. Du Bois, Martin Luther King Jr., Oliver Hill, Arthur Ashe, Attorney General Eric Holder, Congressman John Lewis, the late Congressman Elijah Cummings, former delegate Matthew James, and 2 of my colleagues in the House today, Delegate Jeff Bourne and Delegate Don Scott. In 1904, the same year Dr. Minton and his colleagues wrote Sigma Pi Phi Constitution, Virginia's state constitution explicitly mandated school segregation, poll taxes, and literacy tests, and the General Assembly had just voted to segregate streetcars. As I stand here today, Madam Speaker, Virginia has just elected a record number of African American legislators. The General Assembly has its first African American House Majority Leader, and 7 members of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus hold committee chairmanships. Progress has come to this Capitol, not by accident, nor inevitability, but by the vision and devotion of Dr. Minton and those like him of the Boulay, and all aligned with us in spirit and cause. As we continue to move Virginia towards its future, Madam Speaker and members of this House, let us remember the words of Sigma Pi Phi constitutional preamble. We meet so that we may know the best of one another, and that each in this life may to his full ability aid the other, and by concerted action bring about such things that seems best for all, that cannot be accomplished by individual efforts. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The delegate from Rockingham, Delegate Wilt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for the purpose of a point of personal privilege.
Delegate Wilt, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House. Throughout the time that we've been in session thus far, it's been interesting on both sides of the aisle in conversations we've had in presenting our legislation, that a lot of times we like to refer to other states, namely New York, California, for good or for worse. And before Delegate Jones jumps up and calls me on the carpet, he caught me yesterday in subcommittee. I did the same thing. And so, but Madam Speaker, I would say that that was, in reference to, a bill. But what my interest is now, and the thing I want to speak briefly about, is on the whole issue of economics and business policies. I believe that a word of caution is necessary here, because we're seeing a lot of legislation that's coming through the body that I'm concerned that could have unintended consequences, especially affecting the folks that we all claim that we're looking out for, that we're representing their interest. Madam Speaker, right now, Virginia ranks number 1 in the CNBC poll, and both sides, again, we like to tout that. But the important part of that is, we need to take that serious, that ranking, because what it does, we want to draw in economic opportunities. We want to draw in businesses. And Madam Speaker, other businesses' interests looking to come in and say, they take that serious. They look at all the applications, the things that we have at the state level that make a friendly environment for businesses to come into and to thrive and to employ our citizens. And Madam Speaker, there are some out there that would say that our ranking number 1, we've done that on the backs of our citizens, and we've oppressed them and so forth. But I think we need to look a little deeper at our state of Virginia. Let's look at some other rankings that are factual. And according to the Census Bureau, our poverty rate, Madam Speaker, last year, Virginia, our poverty rate was 10.8%, California was 12.8%, and New York was 13.6%. Let's look at the unemployment rate of Virginia. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2019, Virginia's rate averaged 3%, and it's even lower now. California was 4.2%, and New York 4.1%. Madam Speaker, they may be a touch lower too, benefiting from the great economy that we're experiencing across the nation now. Another important area that we need to look at is that's touted by some, income inequality. Now, based on the Gini Index, That's the variation of highest and lowest income individuals. Virginia ranks 22nd. Now, Madam Speaker, that's not great, but California ranked 4th and New York ranked 1st. They take the spot as the state with the most income inequality of any. Madam Speaker, considering homelessness, now that could arguably be a measure of those that are truly the most vulnerable among us. 2018, the Urban Development Assessment, Virginia had 7 in 10,000. That tied us for second lowest rate of all states. California, in the meantime, was 33 in 10,000. That's the second highest rate in the states. And yes, you guessed it, Madam Speaker, New York was 46 in 10,000, the highest rate in all states for homelessness. And there's numerous other measures that we could reference as well, Madam Speaker. But so as we debate and vote on these proposals, the things that we're looking at, it would be wise for us to keep these statistics in mind as we're considering our legislation, especially if we're doing so to supposedly help the workers and low-income individuals that may be struggling. Now, while I believe that many of our intentions are pure, the practical effect of the soon-to-be debated bills is that the cost will increase for consumers and businesses alike. Unemployment may begin to rise, and then more folks will fall back into poverty and homelessness as the economic opportunities become fewer in our Commonwealth. So, Madam Speaker, again, I appreciate the body's time, but please just keep these things in consideration as we begin to vote on these issues. Thank you.
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Delegate Herring, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and members of this House. And I want to say that I appreciate the delegates from Rockingham's comments and points made. But I want everyone also to remember that Virginia is special. We do not have to sacrifice the welfare of people who work hard every day and try to put food on their children's table. I think we can be both the best place for business and the best place for people who are working to support their families. It's not one or the other. When we look at the poverty rate, Madam Speaker, unfortunately, most of those that are in poverty are children, because parents often working 2 and 3 jobs here in this Commonwealth to put food on the table, and it's still not enough. So again, I want every member to remember and think about, we can be the best for business and the best for workers, but it takes a courage for us, our courage, to consider these bills and realize that we can move beyond where we are right now. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The delegate from Roanoke City, Delegate Rasool.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Delegate Rasool, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, over the past couple of days we've had a variety of conversations and we've heard some great comments that I'd like to highlight. First, the gentleman, when discussing a bill yesterday, the gentleman from Powhatan discussed the adverse impacts to ratepayers. When discussing a bill around environmental justice, the gentleman from Middlesex talked about thinking through land use, thinking about how something would impact farmers. The problem that we face is that low-income folks don't have enough political power to really have their voice flexed. Farmers, they aren't enough in number to really ensure that we as a body are truly listening to them. And as we've gone through history, we see these smaller, sometimes political disparate voices. And the only way, Madam Speaker, for these voices to be heard are to build innovative coalitions as we move forward. So I'll give you a good example. We've had a couple of struggles with regards to pipelines. You have this pipeline in Union Hill and the compressor station. We had conservative landowners who were concerned about the abuse of eminent domain. We had environmentalists who are concerned about the climate crisis. You had a whole host of folks wondering, what is this going to do to ratepayers if we allow for this pipeline to be paid for on the backs of ratepayers? And we have a poor black community in Union Hill where this massive compressor station was set to be placed. Truly an intersectional and a diverse struggle with many different voices coming together. The reality is, Madam Speaker, is that as we move forward with some of these struggles, because I genuinely appreciate the comments about the farmers and land use and what happens to ratepayers, we begin to build a movement. We begin to have a conversation. And I know that this is a politically charged term, but that is essentially what the Green New Deal is supposed to be. Because the Green New Deal is not an environmental plan, and it's not an environmental conversation. Unfortunately, sometimes what happens is that a political connotation is attached to things, but let's peel back the onion for a moment. What it is meant to be, the conversation that's supposed to occur, is how do we address the climate crisis, but doing it in such a way that puts Virginia families and workers front and center, while at the same time appreciating the adverse impacts to vulnerable communities, like the communities that the gentleman from Middlesex was referring to. As we work to protect these vulnerable, many times black and brown, but also poor white communities, it is imperative that we think about farmers. It's imperative that we think about the whole economy. In the 1980s, a black man ran for president, Jesse Jackson. And when Jesse Jackson realized there were these folks who were coming to his rallies with paper bags over their head, and it turned out to be poor white farmers who wanted to support but didn't want their faces to be shown. The reality is, Madam Speaker, is that these poor white farmers were gravitating towards his message, but we were building complex coalitions, and that was the beginning of his Rainbow Coalition. So to the gentleman from Middlesex, from Powhatan, to the gentleman from Rockingham who just talked about trying to strike a balance, we have got to build coalitions. I mean, yesterday on the floor, Madam Speaker, we almost did it where we had a unanimous vote for even the Delegate Carter's bill yesterday. And we're still coming after Delegate Ferris. He's going to support Delegate Carter one day in some of this stuff. But as we face these challenges, Madam Speaker, sometimes we're swimming upstream, and I would just encourage us to find those voices that sometimes are more disparate, sometimes do not have as much political clout, and look around for new friends and see where we can start to agree and build those new coalitions, Madam Speaker. And I know one day we'll be able to get Delegate Ferris to support Delegate Carter's measures in the future. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Delegate from Campbell, Delegate Ferris.
Madam Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Delegate Ferris, you have the floor.
We just heard a really nice speech about a community in Buckingham County. It's in my district. I really appreciate the gentleman's thoughtfulness about those people, and I'd like to invite him to go with me there. Anytime, let's set up a time and go visit, because I'm sure he would like to learn a lot about Buckingham County and the rural areas there that this pipeline may assist some businesses in coming. And I appreciate his thoughtfulness and caring for those people, and I invite him to go, and I'll pay the gas and give him a nice meal.
Thank you. Delegate from Fauquier, Delegate Webert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I could revert to the first morning block of...
Delegate Webert, you have the floor.
Joining us in the gallery are some 4-H youngsters from Fauquier County. If they could stand, they're somewhere in there. They're out visiting the Capitol today. My wife and I have been avid supporters of our local 4-H groups, and my wife grew up in the 4-H program, was 11th in the country in judging, so I know how important 4-H is, considering I married way out of my league. And if you could give the folks a warm house welcome. Thank you.
Welcome to the 4-H students from Fauquier County. Enjoy your day today. The clerk shall call the calendar.
House calendar for February 4. House bills on third reading uncontested calendar. Page 1, House Bill 941. Page 2, House Bill 950, House Bill 51. Page 3, House Bill 172, House Bill 366. Page 4, House Bill 410, House Bill 460, House Bill 491. Page 5, House Bill 501, House Bill 587. Page 6, House Bill 783, House Bill 797. Page 7, House Bill 836, House Bill 1021, House Bill 942 was moved to the regular calendar on page 7. House Bill 1021, page 8, House Bill 1074, House Bill 1081, House Bill 1174, page 9, House Bill 1208, House Bill 1344, House Bill 1349, page 10, House Bill 1353, House Bill 1458, House Bill 1469, page 11, House Bill 1568, House Bill 1581, House Bill 1582, page 12, House Bill 1613, House Bill 1630, House Bill 1679.
Shall the bills pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 99, nays 0, abstentions 0.
Ayes 99, nays 0, abstention 0. The bills pass.
House bills on third reading regular calendar. Page 13, House Bill 1304, a bill to amend and reenact sections 54.1, 3300, and 54.1, 3321 of the Code of Virginia relating to pharmacy technicians and pharmacy technician trainees registration.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 97, nays 1, abstentions 0.
Ayes 97, nays 1, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 7, a bill to amend and reenact sections 3696.3 and 3696.17 of the Code of Virginia relating to the Virginia Fair Housing Law, unlawful discriminatory housing practices.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 71, nays 28, abstentions 0.
Ayes 71, nays 28, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1030, a bill to amend and reenact Section 8 of the second enactment of Chapter 296 of the Acts of Assembly of 2018 relating to electrical transmission lines.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 57, nays 41, abstentions 0.
Ayes 57, nays 41, abstention 0. The bill passes.
Page 14, House Bill 1217, a bill to direct the Department of Transportation to identify certain at-risk infrastructure. Report.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 60, nays 38, abstentions 0.
Ayes 60, nays 38, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1429, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding a section numbered 38.2, 3449.1 relating to health insurance, discrimination on the basis of gender identity or status as a transgender individual prohibited. Reported from Labor and Commerce with amendments.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 54, nays 41, abstentions 0.
Ayes 54, nays 41, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1514, a bill to amend and reenact Section 2.23901 of the Code of Virginia relating to the Virginia Human Rights Act, discrimination on the basis of race, hairstyle, type, or texture.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 72, nays 25, abstentions 0.
Ayes 72, nays 25, abstention 0. The bill passes.
Page 15, House Bill 157, a bill to amend and reenact Section 46.2.861.1 of the Code of Virginia relating to duties of drivers of vehicles approaching stationary vehicles displaying certain warning lights. Penalty.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 88, nays 11, abstentions 0.
Ayes 88, nays 11, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 257, a bill to amend and reenact Sections 8.01, 47, and 22.1, of the Code of Virginia relating to school principals' incident reports.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 81, nays 15, abstentions 0.
Ayes 81, nays 15, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 271, a bill to amend and reenact Section 9.1.184 of the Code of Virginia and to amend the Code of Virginia by adding a section numbered 22.1.279.10 relating to school resource officers' data.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 95, nays 4, abstentions 0.
Ayes 95, nays 4, abstention 0. The bill passes.
Page 16, House Bill 273, a bill to amend and reenact Section 22.1.291.1 of the Code of Virginia relating to school boards, teachers, planning time, and planning periods.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 91, nays 6, abstentions 0.
Ayes 91, nays 6, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 292, a bill to amend and reenact Section 22.1.280.2:3 of the Code of Virginia relating to school boards and local law enforcement agencies, memorandums of understanding, frequency of review, and public input.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 88, nays 11, abstentions 0.
Ayes 88, nays 11, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 308, a bill to require the Department of Education to establish and school boards to implement guidelines for the granting of excused absences to students due to mental or behavioral health.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 60, nays 38, abstentions 0.
Ayes 60, nays 38, abstention 0. The bill passes.
Page 17, House Bill 365, a bill to amend and reenact Section 22.1.303 of the Code of Virginia relating to public elementary and secondary school teachers, probationary term of service, performance evaluation.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 70, nays 28, abstentions 0.
Ayes 70, nays 28, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 405, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding a section numbered 22.1, 6.1, relating to menstrual supplies, certain school buildings.
Shall the bill pass?
Madam Speaker?
Yes. Delegate from Suffolk, Delegate Brewer.
Briefly speaking of the bill.
Delegate Brewer.
Oftentimes when we stand here, we intend to do great things, and we intend to help one another. But there's oftentimes, and I spoke to the patron of this bill, is we're sending back, especially to rural localities that are disproportionately affected, unfunded mandates. I looked at this bill and I looked it over pretty good. I heard from some of my school districts, heard from some of my colleagues, and there's a budget amendment filed for this bill for about $1 million, and I estimate it conservatively with all Virginia schools to be about $15.8 million in fiscal impact, and that's probably a light estimate. I wanted you guys to think about this before we offer items carte blanche in school systems specifically, which we already offer in nurses stations and the like. When you look at an issue like this, please remember before you vote the unfunded mandates and the pressure we're already putting on overtaxed schools. Thank you.
Does the clerk need to destroy the roll? Had we begun? The clerk will destroy the roll. Okay. HB 405. Shall the bill pass? The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 60, nays 39, abstention 0.
Ayes 60, nays 39, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 415, a bill to amend and reenact sections 22.1, 277.04, and 22.1, 277.05 of the Code of Virginia relating to discipline, suspension, access to graded work.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 97, nays 1, abstention 0.
Ayes 97, nays 1, abstention 0. The bill passes.
Page 18, House Bill 449, a bill to amend and reenact Section 29.1, 338, and other sections of the Code of Virginia relating to unlawful hunting, trapping, or fishing, prohibition upon conviction.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 94, nays 3, abstentions 1.
Ayes 94, nays 3, abstentions 1. The bill passes.
House Bill 570, a bill to amend and reenact Section 22.1, 307 of the Code of Virginia relating to dismissal of teachers, grounds incompetency.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 57, nays 42, abstention 0.
Ayes 57, nays 42, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 668, a bill to amend and reenact Sections 10.1, 2300, and other sections of the Code of Virginia relating to field investigations permit, archaeologist qualifications, penalty.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 79, nays 19, abstention 0.
Ayes 79, nays 19, abstention 0. The bill passes.
Page 19, House Bill 706, a bill to amend and reenact Sections 28.2, 1208, and other sections of the Code of Virginia, and to repeal Section 67301 of the Code of Virginia relating to offshore oil and gas drilling policy.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 64, nays 34, abstention 0.
Ayes 64, nays 34, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 734, a bill to amend and reenact Section 58.1301 of the Code of Virginia relating to income tax, rolling conformity with the Internal Revenue Code, nonconformance with certain amendments.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 88, nays 11, abstentions 0.
Ayes 88, nays 11, abstention 0. The bill passes.
Page 20, House Bill 988, a bill to amend and reenact Section 19.2, 368.4 of the Code of Virginia relating to compensating victims of crime, persons eligible for award, grandchildren.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 97, nays 1, abstentions 0.
Ayes 97, nays 1, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 992, a bill to amend and reenact Sections 23.1, 3101, and 23.1, 3104 of the Code of Virginia relating to the A.L. Philpott Manufacturing Extension Partnership, employees, classification, benefits.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 92, nays 6, abstentions 0.
Ayes 92, nays 6, abstention 0. The bill passes.
Page 21, House Bill 1173, a bill to amend and reenact Section 58.1, 3660 of the Code of Virginia relating to tax exemption for certified pollution control equipment and facilities, timing of certification by the state certifying authority.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 91, nays 6, abstentions 0.
Ayes 91, nays 6, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1205, a bill to amend and reenact Section 62.1, 44.19:6 of the Code of Virginia relating to discharge of deleterious substance into state waters. Notice.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 59, nays 37, abstentions 0.
Ayes 59, nays 37, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1327, a bill to amend and reenact Section 58.1, 2606 of the Code of Virginia relating to property taxes, generating equipment of electric suppliers utilizing wind turbines.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 81, nays 12, abstentions 0.
Ayes 81, nays 12, abstention 0. The bill passes.
Page 22, House Bill 1352, a bill to amend and reenact Sections 10.1, 1402, and 10.1, 1408.1 of the Code of Virginia relating to responsible solid waste disposal.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 61, nays 38, abstentions 0.
Ayes 61, nays 38, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1407, a bill to amend and reenact Sections 2.2, 4321, and other sections of the Code of Virginia relating to misclassification of employees as independent contractors, Department of Taxation to investigate and enforce civil penalties.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 55, nays 43, abstentions 0.
Ayes 55, nays 43, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1430, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding in Chapter 41.1 of Title 3.2, a section numbered 3.2 4121, and changing other sections of the code relating to industrial hemp, standards for extracts, regulations, fund, emergency.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 95, nays 4, abstentions 0.
Ayes 95, nays 4, abstention 0. The bill passes.
Page 23, House Bill 1448, a bill to amend and reenact Sections 2.2, 4002, and other sections of the Code of Virginia relating to management of the Menhaden fishery.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 73, nays 25, abstentions 0.
Ayes 73, nays 25, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1586, a bill to amend and reenact Section 33.2, 1526.1 of the Code of Virginia relating to the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority allocation of funds.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 74, nays 23, abstentions 0.
Ayes 74, nays 23, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1615, a bill to amend and reenact Section 58.1803 of the Code of Virginia relating to recordation tax, deeds of trust, or mortgages.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 98, nays 0, abstentions 0.
Ayes 98, nays 0, abstention 0. The bill passes.
Page 24, House Bill 1623, a bill to amend and reenact Sections 58.1812 and 58.1817 of the Code of Virginia relating to fee for open space preservation.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 58, nays 40, abstentions 0.
Ayes 58, nays 40, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1707, a bill to amend and reenact Section 45.1396 and to repeal 45.1400 of the Code of Virginia relating to the Clean Energy Advisory Board.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 65, nays 33, abstentions 0.
Ayes 65, nays 33, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1695, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding a section numbered 10.11188.1 and by adding in Chapter 5 of Title 29.1 an article numbered 8 consisting of sections numbered 29.1578 and other sections of the Code of Virginia relating to Wildlife Corridor Action Plan.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 89, nays 10, abstentions 0.
Ayes 89, nays 10, abstention 0. The bill passes.
Returning to page 7 of the calendar, House Bill 942, a bill to amend and reenact Section 3.2, 4114 of the Code of Virginia relating to industrial hemp, federal regulations with an emergency clause.
Shall the bill pass? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 94, nays 0, abstentions 0.
Ayes 94, nays 0, abstention 0. The bill passes.
House bills on second reading, uncontested calendar. Page 25, House Bill 342, a bill to amend and reenact Sections 58.1, 3833, and 58.1, 3840 of the Code of Virginia relating to meals tax and county food and beverage tax, exemption for farmers market and roadside stand sales up to $2,500, reported from Finance with amendments.
The delegate from Albemarle, Delegate Bell.
Madam Speaker, I move the committee amendments.
Shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The amendments are agreed to. Delegate Bell.
Madam Speaker, members of the House, a couple of years ago, we granted a retail sales exemption for our smallest vendors at farmers markets and roadside stands. It's set at $2,500 income. This would apply an identical exemption to the prepared meals tax that some counties levy. I will do the pleasure of the House to engross the bill, pass it on to a third reading.
House Bill 167, a bill to amend and reenact Section 56-249.6 of the Code of Virginia relating to electric utility regulation, fuel factor, reported from Labor and Commerce with substitute.
The delegate from Powhatan, Delegate Ware.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Ware.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With the substitute being adopted, this bill, which had some controversy in the last couple of years, is now one that is agreed upon by all the interested parties. It gives instructions to the State Corporation Commission related to the Atlantic Coast Pipeline and how this will be adjudicated when it comes before that body. I hope it will be the pleasure of the House to pass it on to its third reading.
Page 26, House Bill 330, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding in Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 40.1 a section numbered 40.1, 28.7:7 relating to covenants not to compete, low-wage employees, civil penalty, reported from Labor and Commerce.
The delegate from Enrico, Delegate Van Valkenburg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Speaking to the bill.
Delegate Van Valkenburg, you have the floor.
Madam Speaker, members of the body, House Bill 330 bans non-compete clauses for low-wage workers, and I hope it's the will of the body to engross and pass it on to its third reading.
Madam Speaker, could House Bill 330 go to the regular calendar after engrossment, please?
House Bill 330 will go to the regular calendar after engrossment. House Bill 452, a bill to amend and reenact Section 2.2, 4303 of the Code of Virginia relating to the Virginia Public Procurement Act, small purchases, reported from General Laws with substitute.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill increases from $100,000 to $200,000 the small purchase exemption under the Virginia Public Procurement Act for singular term contracts for goods and services. Other than professional services, I ask that we engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The substitute is agreed to.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
House Bill 788, a bill to amend and reenact Sections 55.1, 300, and other sections of the Code of Virginia relating to restrictive covenants, deeds of reformation, reported from General Laws with substitute.
The delegate from Enrico, Delegate Bagby.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the committee substitute.
Shall the substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The substitute is agreed to. Delegate Bagby.
Madam Speaker, members of the body, HB 788 prohibits a deed containing a restrictive covenant that purports to restrict the ownership or use of property as permitted in the Virginia housing law from being recorded on or after July 1st, 2020. This bill also provides the form for certificate of release of certain prohibited covenants. I hope it be the will of the body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Page 27, House Bill 887, a bill to amend and reenact Section 23.1, 707 of the Code of Virginia relating to Able Savings Trust Agreement, Medicaid clawback prohibition, reported from Health, Welfare, and Institutions.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Simon.
Madam Chairman, could this bill go by, could go to the regular calendar and by temporarily?
House Bill 887 will move to the regular calendar. House Bill 925, a bill to require the Department of Medical Assistance Services to take steps to facilitate the transition of persons between the home and community-based services waiver program and the Medicaid Works waiver program, reported from Health, Welfare, and Institutions with substitute.
The delegate from Chesterfield, Delegate Coiner.
Madam Speaker, move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Coiner.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 925 is a bill that requires the Department of Medical Assistance Services to work with individuals with disabilities who are eligible to transfer from home and community-based services to the Medicaid Works waiver program. Medicaid Works allow individuals with disabilities to earn higher wages and still receive support services, but many people don't take the risk of leaving a home and community waiver to try Medicaid Works because there is no safety net. This bill provides that and should help with our waiting lists on our other waiver programs and encourage people to take higher wage jobs. I would ask that it be engrossed and moved on to the third reading.
Shall the bills be engrossed and passed on to their third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The bills are engrossed and passed on to the third reading.
House bills on second reading, regular calendar. Page 27, House Bill 134 has gone by for the day. Page 28, House Bill 1049, a bill to amend and reenact sections 2.2, 2203.3, and other sections of the Code of Virginia relating to prohibited discrimination, sexual orientation, and gender identity. Reported from General Laws, and there is a floor amendment.
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Levine.
Madam Speaker, House Bill 1049 is a comprehensive bill to add sexual orientation and gender identity to non-discrimination provisions throughout the Virginia Code, and I move to pass by the floor amendment.
Will the clerk report the floor amendment?
Floor amendment to House Bill 1049 by Delegate Davis. After line 150, introduced, insert the terms because of sexual orientation or gender identity, or on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity, or terms of similar import when used in reference to discrimination in the Code and acts of the General Assembly, shall not be construed to bar any religious or denominational institutions or organization, or any organization operated for charitable or educational purposes, which is operated, supervised, or controlled by, or in connection with a religious organization, from limiting employment or sales, rental, or occupancy of housing accommodations, or admission to or giving preference to persons of the same religion or denomination, or from taking such action as is calculated by such organization to promote the religious principles for which it is established or maintained, nor shall such terms be construed to allow a public body or contracting agency to deny a contract to or terminate a contract with such organization because of the organization's adherence to the religious principles for which it is established or maintained.
Madam Speaker?
Yes, delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Simon.
Point of order. Madam Speaker, having listened to this bill be reported, it's clear that what this bill purports to do is actually insert a bill that we've heard several years in a row, and the governor's vetoed several times into this bill. And for that reason, Madam Chairman, I would move that this. My point of order is I don't believe this bill is germane to the bill. I think it adds to the scope and tries to insert new legislation into it.
The House will be at ease. The House will come to order. I rule if that is not germane, it adds a requirement and it goes beyond the intent of beyond the scope. Delegate Levine.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 1333, a bill to amend and reenact Sections 55.1, 1204, and other sections of the Code of Virginia relating to landlord and tenant, damage insurance in lieu of security deposit, reported from general laws with substitute.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Keem.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I first have a parliamentary inquiry to the clerk. If I have a substitute committee amendment and there's also a proposed floor amendment, would I not be correct that we would have to accept the substitute committee amendment first before we address the floor amendment?
That is correct.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Delegate Keem.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That's exactly what I'd like to do. I'd like to first ask that we accept the committee substitute to House Bill 1333.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And at this stage, if I can, there is a floor amendment which you'll see in the IHOD offered as a friendly amendment by a delegate from Chesterfield. So if I may, I'd like to yield my time to the delegate so she can offer the floor amendment. Would that be possible?
Delegate Coiner.
Madam Speaker, I would move the friendly floor amendment.
Will the clerk please report the floor amendment?
Floor amendment to House Bill 1333, offered by Delegate Coiner. Number 1, after line 262, substitute, insert. Number 6, the insurance provider shall notify the landlord immediately if the damage policy lapses or is canceled. Number 2, amendment number 2, after line 265, substitute, insert K. A tenant who initially opts to provide damage insurance in lieu of a security deposit may, at any time without consent of the landlord, opt to pay the full security deposit to the landlord in lieu of maintaining a damage insurance policy. The landlord shall not alter the terms of the lease in the event a tenant opts to pay the full amount of the security deposit pursuant to this subsection.
Delegate Coiner.
Madam Speaker, speaking to the amendment.
Delegate Coiner, you have the floor.
One of the things we often see in landlord-tenant contracts, if you don't speak to what doesn't provide for an event of default, it can be deemed that. So allowing folks to use this flexibility to be able to afford better quality housing, making it that it's a non-event of default if they are able to come up with the cash and no longer have to pay insurance. I move the amendment.
All those in favor of the floor amendment say aye. All those opposed? The floor amendment is agreed to. Delegate Keem.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And speaking to the measure, please.
Delegate Keem, you have the floor.
Thank you. House Bill 1333 is a fairly new idea which takes a common problem and we're trying to solve it with an innovative idea. As many of us in this room, and I'm sure across the Commonwealth, know that when you're trying to find rental property for the first time, you have to come up with a security deposit, usually first and last month rent. And for some people, it might not be a problem to come up with the cash, but for many others, it could possibly be an obstacle to finding the apartment that you need or housing you need. And so currently, the policy is if the security deposit is required, that it be required in a cash form. We've found that there are some companies willing to provide new insurance programs that would basically substitute the security deposit with an insurance claim that would cover the same amount. We want to make sure it's done in the right ways to protect the consumers, so this bill would create some boundaries and rules of the road for what kind of insurance would be accepted, and thanks to the delegate from Chesterfield, we would also make sure that there's more guidance for the landlord and tenant who negotiate this to be able to have some flexibility in their negotiations. I thank the delegate and those who helped me with this bill, and I ask that we engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor?
Madam Speaker.
Yes. Delegate from Spotsylvania, Delegate Cole.
Madam Speaker, I have a motion on this bill. May this bill go by for the day. Since it has been changed since it came out of committee, I'd like the opportunity to be able to review the changes before we move forward with it.
All those in favor of the bill going by for the day, say aye. All those opposed? Delegate Keem?
I'd be happy to provide the courtesy of my colleague. Thank you.
The bill will go by for the day.
House Bill 392, a bill to amend and reenact Section 22.1, 296.1 of the Code of Virginia relating to school boards, applicants for employment and volunteer service, criminal history, reported from education with amendments.
The delegate from Hampton, Delegate Ward.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, first I need to move the committee amendments.
Shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The committee amendments are agreed to. Delegate Ward.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill comes at the request of Hampton City Schools, and what the bill does, it permits a school board to employ an individual who has been convicted of a felony or a crime that does not involve sexual molestation, that does not involve physical or sexual abuse or rape of a child, provided in that case of a felony conviction, the individual has had his rights restored by the governor. Right now, think about it. A person could run for office, could run to be on that school board, be elected to serve on the school board, to chair the school board, but that same person would not be eligible for employment, couldn't even be a bus driver. Many school boards are dealing with a shortage of candidates for almost every position: teachers, bus drivers, mechanics, just to name a few. Most often, they see candidates who made poor choices in their late teens and early 20s. Most violations are related to a felony drug possession, passing a bad check, or even shoplifting. But what this bill will do is allow a school board to consider these individuals for employment. Doesn't mandate it. They can just consider it. I hope it's a pleasure of this House to engross the bill and send it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
Madam Speaker.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Simon.
Madam Speaker, HB 582 go by temporarily.
Do I do that?
All those in favor of HB 582 going by temporarily, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 582 will go by temporarily.
Page 31, House Bill 1329, a bill to amend and reenact Section 62.1, 44.15:72 of the Code of Virginia relating to Chesapeake Bay resource protection areas, tree removal, reported from Agriculture, Chesapeake, and Natural Resources with substitute.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Corey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Corey.
Thank you. HB 1329 is an effort to protect the Chesapeake Bay watershed and in turn the state waters of the bay itself. This bill states that local ordinances addressing permitted modifications of the buffer area include specific penalties for removal of trees unless they are dead, dying, or diseased from an RPA without prior approval of such locality. Madam Speaker, I move that the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 775, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding in Chapter 24 of Title 2.2 and Article number 28, consisting of several sections relating to My Virginia Plan, multiple employer retirement plan for private employers and their employees, reported from appropriations with substitute.
The delegate from Prince William, Delegate Ayala.
Madam Speaker, can HB 775 go by for the day?
All those in favor of HB 775 going by for the day say aye. Those opposed? 775 goes by for the day.
Page 32 of the calendar, House Bill 123, a bill to amend and reenact Section 40.129 of the Code of Virginia and to amend the Code of Virginia by adding a section numbered 11-4.6 relating to non-payment of wages, construction contracts, joint and several liability of general contractor and subcontractor for payment of wages to subcontractors' employees, cause of action, reported from Labor and Commerce with substitute, and there is a floor amendment.
The delegate from Prince William, Delegate Carol Foy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First, I would like to move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Carol Foy.
Yes, Madam Speaker. House Bill 123. Wage theft is an epidemic across the Commonwealth, as evidenced by the 2012 JLARC report that showed a quarter of Virginia employers commit wage theft against their workers. The same report found approximately 214,000 workers were taken advantage of by their employers. More recently, the Virginia Employment Commission revealed in a report from the Governor's Task Force that the number of workers that are victims of only one form of wage theft in Virginia every year is close to 400,000. House Bill 123 creates a private right of action for workers to sue their employers for unpaid wages, damages, and attorney fees. For construction contracts, House Bill 123 holds the general contractors jointly and severally liable for all unpaid wages. I hope it is the pleasure of the body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Madam Speaker.
Will the clerk report the floor amendment?
Floor amendment to House Bill 123, substitute line 20 after strike 2021, insert 2020. Should be after July 1, strike 2021, insert 2020.
Delegate Carol Foy.
Yes, I ask for the floor amendment to be adopted.
All those in favor of the floor amendment say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The floor amendment is agreed to. Delegate Carol Foy.
Yes, I hope it's the pleasure of the body to engross the bill and to adopt it to its third reading.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Delegate Head.
Would the delegate yield for a question?
Will the delegate yield?
Yes, I will yield.
The delegate will yield.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would ask the delegate, this seems to be creating a joint employer relationship between a general contractor and any subcontractor at any tier underneath that for the purpose of a construction contract. Is that the delegate's intent?
Delegate Carol Foy.
The words of the bill are quite clear, and there was a robust conversation in committee about this where I made it unequivocally clear to the delegate, Madam Speaker, that what this bill does is create a right of action for a person whose wages have been stolen. Money has been stolen from the Commonwealth because worker compensation, insurance isn't paid, taxes are avoided. And so we want to ensure that we end the exploitation of workers here in Virginia. And so with that, I would say that the bill says it does what it does, and the delegate is clearly aware of what it is with the numerous of questions that he asked that were all answered in committee.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, will the delegate yield for another question?
I will not yield.
The delegate will not yield.
Speaking to the bill, Madam Speaker.
Delegate Head, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, since Delegate Carol Foy neglects to defend the bill, I'll just have to point out some things that we tried to get her to defend in committee and that are pretty egregious about this bill. What this bill actually points out and says is that a general contractor, not as a joint employer, but actually is the employer as it relates to this section. And the problem that we have with that is that a general contractor, you can't just deem someone an employer unless they have certain responsibilities over those employees. And a general contractor that hires a subcontracting company cannot possibly have those kinds of relationships over that. The Department of Labor most recently came out with, late last year, came out with a ruling on what classifies a co-employer. Those rulings go into effect next month. And it says that if that a joint employer relationship cannot exist unless both parties have a right to hire or fire the employees,
to supervise and control the work schedule or the conditions of employment of the employees, to determine the rate and method of pay of the employees, and to maintain all of the employee records of the employees. None of those things exist when you're just hiring a subcontractor. I would further submit that when you're saying that the way that the bill is worded, that when you say that they are the employer, when a subcontractor relationship exists, that they are the employer, many times subcontracting companies are doing work for multiple general contractors simultaneously. And so this would leave an open course of action for any employee that felt like they had been agreed by a particular subcontractor to go after any and all of the contractors that they were working for, based whether it was the same job site or not. It is absolutely flawed legislation in many, many ways, and serves, I mean, it muddies the water. This is going to, if we were to pass this and this becomes law, this is going to really negatively impact every construction contract that goes on in Virginia, from the homeowner that's building a single-family residence, all the way up to the contracts for a bridge or a road or any major industrial development. Anything that's being done in contracting is going to be negatively impacted by this. It baffles me that we would even consider this. It baffles me further that the patron is unwilling to stand up and defend the position on the bill, because I've never seen that in the almost decade that I've been on this floor. But I would really urge the bill to not engross this bill.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Simon.
Madam Speaker, speaking to the bill.
Delegate Simon, you have the floor.
All right, Madam Speaker, members of the House. First of all, there is no requirement, never has there been a requirement. In fact, yesterday, it was the day before yesterday, I declined to yield Delegate LaRock's questions about my bill. So I don't say you've never seen it before. If you have, you haven't been paying attention. All right, there's no requirement that members of this body allow you all to use them as a prop to do this game that you want to play. We can speak to the bill. You just did. You explained your objections perfectly well. And I'm going to answer some of those. And Jennifer Karen Ford may, if she wants to, get up and defend some of them as well. But let's talk about this idea of joint employer. What this bill says is that for the purposes of this section only, they're deemed to be an employer and they have joint and several liability. And there's an important reason for that. Right? Because you can't have general contractors employing labor brokers who create an LLC for one time and one time only to create a shell entity for this project, go out and gather up employees, collect the money from the general contractor, disperse it to their members, cease to exist, leaving those employees whose wages have been stolen with no one to go after. And I think it's perfectly appropriate to expect the general contractor to know that that's what they're doing, to know that that's the kind of employment broker that they're after. So there's sound reasons for all of these things to be here. By the way, as far as our business ranking, and Delegate Wilt talked about that during his point of personal privilege this morning, of the top 10 states that do business, 9 of those top 10 states have a private right of action for wage theft. The only one that doesn't yet is the Commonwealth of Virginia. This is a bill that's good for business. It's good for Virginians. People need to know, employees need to know they can get paid. There need to be clear rules. And this, again, prevents this growing problem. Right now, but here's the other thing, for what it's worth. Under current law, so if you think this legislation is flawed, I think it's important you understand what current law allows. Right now, if someone steals your wages, your one remedy is to go to the Department of Labor and Industry, file a complaint, and even if you're found, even if you win, if you prevail, all the employer has to do is pay you your back wages. So why wouldn't you try and steal everybody's wages under that bill if the only penalty you've got is eventually you have to pay them? Madam Chairman, members of the House, I hope that it'll be the pleasure of this body to engross this bill and pass it to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in...
Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker?
Yes, Delegate Wilt.
Yeah, speaking to the bill.
You have the floor.
Yeah, I think it's telling that the gentleman that just spoke to it made the comment that the employee, if he doesn't get paid, or she, that they can go back against their employer. Madam Speaker, I'd say that's the problem with this legislation. It's like if you hire someone to mow your yard and they have multiple employees working for them, and you pay them to get the job done, and then they leave your residence and go back to the shop, and they don't pay their employees that work for them. Now those employees get to come back to you and expect you to pay. You've already paid. And so that's the problem with the legislation, that each entity has their responsibility. And it was clear as
day that that's the issue at hand here, that the employer is responsible for their employees, and there's no way that they can control what the subcontractor, who should be properly licensed. Yes, that I agree with that. Everyone needs to verify that they're properly insured and all that. But beyond that, it's impossible for the general to control what a separate entity that they hire to do a job, that they can guarantee that they follow through on their commitment to their employees. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The delegate from Manassas, Delegate Carter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Speaking of the bill.
Delegate Carter, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We've heard several times now some members of this body object to the idea that a general contractor might be responsible for the conditions of a subcontractor. Now, I can tell you from my own personal experience, I was injured on the job. I was working for a subcontracting company, and after I was able to return to work, I called my boss, and they said, in no uncertain terms, "We don't have any work for you, because the company that we are contracting for doesn't want you on their job sites anymore." So for anyone in here to tell me that general contractors don't have any influence over the hiring and firing decisions of their subcontractors, I would ask them to go down to any job site and talk to the employees of those subcontractors and ask them whether or not the general contractor has any control. They absolutely do. They exert that control on a regular basis, especially when they make the decision to blacklist somebody. So for any general contractors or anyone who has an interest in a general contracting company, Madam Speaker, I would say to them that they should make sure that they are properly vetting the subcontracting companies they are working for, they have working for them. So, Madam Speaker, I hope for the working people of this Commonwealth, for the thousands of Virginians who work for subcontracting companies who currently have no recourse when they are wronged, I hope it will be the will of this body to engross this bill and pass it on to its third reading.
The delegate from Fairfax, from Richmond City, Delegate McQuinn.
Madam Speaker, I rise for a motion.
Delegate McQuinn, you have the floor.
I move the pending question.
All those in favor of the pending question say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The pending question is called. Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 333, a bill to amend and reenact Section 40.1, 28.9 of the Code of Virginia relating to the minimum wage, application to persons whose employment is covered by the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act, and to persons with impaired earnings capacity. Reported from Labor and Commerce with substitute.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Krizik.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Krizik.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Essentially what the committee substitute does is it divides this in half. So what the clerk just read, the first half of that will no longer be applicable. So it will now be just to persons with impaired earnings capacity. So HB 333 eliminates the exclusion in the Virginia Minimum Wage Act for those persons whose earning capacity is impaired by physical deficiency, mental illness, or intellectual disability. This is out-of-date language. It's discriminatory towards workers with disabilities, and all Virginia workers deserve to earn at least the minimum wage, and this is really a civil rights issue, and I hope it's the will of the body to engross this bill and pass it on to its third read.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 336, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding a section numbered 40.1, 29.1, relating to the authority of the Department of Labor and Industry to investigate employers for failure to pay wages. Reported from Labor and Commerce.
The delegate from Newport News, Delegate Price.
Yes, Madam Speaker and members, in an instance where the Department of Labor and Industry is investigating an employer for a complaint of wage theft from an employee, and the commissioner acquires information creating reasonable belief that the same employer may not have paid wages as required for other employees, House Bill 336 would give them the authority to initiate proceedings on behalf of the other employees without a written complaint as a condition to institute such such proceedings. I hope it would be the pleasure of the body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
Page 33, House Bill 337, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding in Article 2 of Chapter 3 of Title 40.1, a section numbered 40.1, 33.1, relating to prohibiting employers from discriminating against employees for instituting proceedings for non-payment of wages. Reported from Labor and Commerce.
The delegate from Newport News, Delegate Price.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Currently, if an employee submits a complaint against their employer, they can be legally fired in retaliation. So employees are in a precarious situation of having either to live under the injustice of being stolen from or be fired. House Bill 337 provides that an employer shall not fire or discriminate against an employee that has filed a complaint. This would provide whistleblower protections for Virginia workers and creates a process for an employee who has been fired or discriminated against because of retaliation can then file another complaint for the retaliation. Madam Speaker, I hope it'll be the will of the body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 358, a bill to amend and reenact Section 2.2, 4321.2 of the Code of Virginia relating to contracts with government agencies for public works, agreements with labor organizations, reported from General Laws with substitute, and there is a floor amendment.
The delegate from Arlington, Delegate Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move the substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Lopez.
With the floor amendment, or the floor amendment as well, ma'am?
Will the clerk please report the floor amendment?
House Bill 358, amendment by Delegate Lopez. Line 16 of the substitute after body, strike the remainder of line 16, all of line 17, and through education on line 18, insert has the same meaning as provided in section 2.2, 4301.
Delegate Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Virginia state agencies and localities are currently prohibited from issuing project labor agreements for public work, despite the fact that PLAs are good for owners, the construction industry, workers, and the taxpayer. This bill restores to all public bodies at the state and local level the option of utilizing PLAs on their construction projects. PLAs are legal on public work in 25 states, and states that have repealed their PLAs in recent years have seen disastrous results, from cost overruns on construction to proliferation of wage theft in the construction industry. Madam Speaker, I hope that we engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
All those in favor of the floor amendment shall say aye. Those opposed? The floor amendment is agreed to. Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 416, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding in Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 40.1, a section numbered 40.1, 28.7:7 relating to prohibition on employer inquiry about wage or salary history of prospective employees, civil penalty, reported from Labor and Commerce with substitute.
The delegate from Fredericksburg, Delegate Cole.
Madam Speaker, I move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Cole.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My bill, HB 416, prohibits a prospective employer from requiring that a prospective employee provide or disclose that prospective's wage or salary history at prior jobs. This law will fight the cycle of pay discrimination many employees across the Commonwealth face and bring our state in alliance with over 17 states that have laws prohibiting salary history questions on job applications. Violations are subject to a civil penalty not to exceed $100 per violation, and the substitute that we submitted would allow this prohibition not to exceed to companies that have fewer than 25 employees. I would ask the pleasure of this body to engross and pass this bill to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
Page 34, House Bill 437, A bill to amend and reenact Sections 2.2-1124 and 2.2-1606 of the Code of Virginia relating to Department of General Services, disposition of surplus materials, permit sale to military spouse-owned businesses.
The delegate from Prince William, Delegate Carol Foy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Carol Foy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 437 builds on existing legal jurisprudence by permitting surplus materials to be sold prior to public sale or auction to active military-owned businesses and military spouse-owned businesses. This year, this bill expands available surplus resources to these individuals to help them in their entrepreneurial endeavors and to give military spouses and military families a leg up. I hope it is the pleasure of the body to engross this bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 622, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding in Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 40.1 a section numbered 40.1, 28.7:7, relating to a prohibition on employers limiting employees' discussions of wage information, civil penalty, reported from Labor and Commerce with substitute.
The delegate from Montgomery, Delegate Hurst.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Hurst.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, nearly 60 years after the Equal Pay Act was signed into law, women, especially women of color, are paid less on the dollar, 77 cents for white women, about 60 cents for African American women, and less than 50 cents on the dollar for Latinx women compared to their male counterparts. All too often, wage disparities go undetected because employers maintain policies that punish employees who voluntarily share salary information with their coworkers. House Bill 622 states that no employer shall discharge from employment or take other retaliatory action against an employee because the employee inquired about or discussed with, disclosed to another employee any information about either the employee's own wages or other compensation about any other employee's wages. I hope it be the pleasure of the body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 717, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding in Chapter 15 of Title 46.2 an article numbered 10, consisting of a section numbered 46.2-1583 relating to electric vehicle rebate program, reported from Transportation with substitute.
The delegate from Loudoun, Delegate Reed.
Madam Speaker, I move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Reed.
Madam Speaker, House Bill 717 sets up a working group to develop an implementation plan for an electric vehicle rebate program. I hope it will be the pleasure of the body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on? Delegate from Franklin, Delegate Poindexter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wonder if the patron would yield for a question.
Will the delegate yield?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
The delegate will yield. Delegate Poindexter, you have the floor.
Madam Chairman, thank you. I would ask, there's quite a few studies around that, well, first off, the goal of this legislation is to reduce emissions. Am I correct on that?
Delegate Reed.
Madam Speaker, yes, the goal is to reduce emissions. Currently, as far as CO2 is concerned, the transportation industry still makes up about 48% of CO2 emissions into the Virginia atmosphere.
Delegate Poindexter.
Further question?
Will the delegate yield?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
The delegate will yield.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My second and final question really is, there are numerous studies around that indicate that the mining of the minerals and so forth that are used, especially lithium, are used to make batteries, and that the manufacturing process and then the ongoing figures, which are yet to be completed in many respects for recycling such batteries, that the emissions from those is equal to that which is reduced, to the emissions that are reduced in driving an electric vehicle. So if that's true, would we really want to do this? especially due to the environmental damage from the mining and the manufacturing and the recycling.
Delegate Reed.
Madam Speaker and fellow delegate, the studies that I have seen actually indicate that after taking all of those things into consideration, that the actual emissions effect and the effect on the environment is actually less by moving to electric vehicles.
I thank the gentleman.
Thank you. Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, the bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading. Delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Madam Speaker, I move that we go at ease for about 5 minutes.
All those in favor, going at ease for 5 minutes, say aye. Those opposed, so moved. The House will be at ease. The House will come to order. Delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Madam Speaker, I rise for a motion.
Delegate Herring, you have the floor.
I move that we stand in recess until 2:30.
All those in favor of standing in recess until 2:30, say aye. Those opposed? House will stand in recess until 2:30. Madam Clerk?
The House Democratic Caucus will meet immediately upon adjournment in House Room 1.
The House stands in recess. House will come to order.
Page 35 of the calendar, House Bill 763, a bill to amend and reenact Section 30.1-127 of the Code of Virginia relating to hospitals, notification, physical therapy, reported from health, welfare, and institutions with substitute.
The delegate from Caroline, Delegate Orrock.
Madam Speaker, I move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, the committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Orrock.
Madam Speaker, members of the House, did you know that if you have to go in for elective surgery that is likely to result in you having to have physical therapy upon your discharge, that they require you to pick a PT before they discharge you, but they don't tell you when you're going in you're going to have to do that? So the point of this bill, the long and the short, is to, on the front end of things, through the regulatory process, where the Board of Health will, within the hospital community at that time of pre-admission, when you go in and do all the paperwork, they will advise you so the patient can be their own best advocate that before you will be discharged, you will need to pick a physical therapist for your post-hospital therapy. That's all this bill does. It informs patients what's coming so they can be better informed, make that choice on the front end, rather than laying there in the bed waiting to be discharged, and they give you a form with this list and pick one. That's all the bill does. I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, the bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 798, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding a section numbered 40.1-27.3 relating to the protection of employees from retaliatory actions by their employer, reported from Labor and Commerce.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Delaney.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, members of the body, HB 798 is a bill that would prohibit an employer from taking retaliatory action against an employee who reports an unlawful or fraudulent act to any governmental body or law enforcement official. Currently, Virginians can be fired or retaliated against by their employer for reporting an illegal act. We must acknowledge an employee's right to report legitimate claims of unlawful action by the passage of this bill. I hope it is the will of the body to engross this bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, the bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 800, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding a section numbered 40.1-29.1 relating to a requirement for disclosure of the terms of employment, reported from Labor and Commerce with substitute.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Delaney.
Madam Speaker, I move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Delaney.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker and members of the body, HB 800 requires every employer to furnish their employee with written disclosure of information regarding the terms of employment, the rate of pay, and the regular payday, as well as requires employers to give notification when any of those change. This bill does provide for reasonable exemptions for certain jobs like babysitting, work-study opportunities. Currently, individuals can be hired by an employer without being provided any information about the person or company employing them. So in the event that wage theft occurs, employees can be turned away by the courts because they do not have enough information to verify the individuals or company that employed them. Oftentimes in situations like this, employees must go out of their way to find the information necessary for the court to summon their employer instead of having the information furnished to them at the inception of their employment. The outlined provisions in this bill are common sense protections for employees, so I hope it is the will of this body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
Page 36, House Bill 874, a bill to amend and reenact Section 46.2-1078.1 of the Code of Virginia relating to holding handheld personal communications devices while driving a motor vehicle, reported from Transportation with substitute.
Madam Speaker, I'd move the substitute.
Delegate from Richmond City.
I'm sorry. Madam Speaker, I'd move the committee substitute.
Delegate Board, yes. Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to.
Madam
Delegate
Speaker,
Board.
ladies and gentlemen of the House, this is a proverbial hands-free bill. This same bill was passed out of the House last year, got caught up in conference by the end of the session. It prohibits driving with a couple of exceptions and using your cell phone, talking on the phone, manipulating it. It's got a delayed enactment clause. It's got some protections in there to make sure that the law is not disparately applied. It's got an education campaign for both the public and the law enforcement officers that will be enforcing the bill. And it would be my hope that we could engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 881, a bill to amend and reenact Section 18.2, 325 of the Code of Virginia and to amend the code by adding a section numbered 18.2, 334.5 related to illegal gambling, skill games, exception, reported from general laws.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Bulova.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And ladies and gentlemen of the House, I know that each of you over the last 4 weeks of this session, if you're anything like me, have been visited by literally dozens of people on a whole issue of gaming issues. And trust me, my friends, the fun has just begun. I do want to point out that today we don't have any casinos in Virginia. And so why is that? Thank you. Well, it's because we are debating those bills in general laws, and we're trying to decide whether we want to go that route, and if we do, what kind of parameters we want to put on that. Today, we also don't have legalized sports betting either, and that is because we are thoughtfully working through bills on that as well. But you know what we do have today, Madam Speaker? We literally have thousands of gray machines that have flooded Virginia without any input whatsoever from the General Assembly. And JLARC estimated that as of last October, there are about 9,000 of these things throughout the Commonwealth. That's had some huge consequences to our lottery. They anticipate that could eventually cost them about $40 million per year that goes to education. And it's had a huge impact on our charitable gaming institutions, many of which have come to us to seek relief. I think more fundamentally, though, is what I hope you'll ask yourself is this. When you think about the future of Virginia, do we really want mini casinos on every street corner and every bar in Virginia? And equally important, Madam Speaker, what message does it send to the thousands of other businesses that want to come into Virginia the right way? Madam Speaker, the bill is relatively straightforward. It defines gray machines as illegal gambling. It makes exceptions for amusement games at family entertainment centers, which includes things like our iconic and much beloved claw machines. Madam Speaker, that's what the bill is. Move that we engross it and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 890, a bill to amend and reenact Section 2.2, 4382 of the Code of Virginia relating to construction management and design build contracting, use by local public bodies, reported from general laws with substitute.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Sickles.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Sickles.
Madam Speaker, smaller contractors that have been prevented from bidding on construction management at risk contracts the threshold for that is set in regulation now at $26 million. It was set at $10 million. The administration, after looking at the cost of doing business over time, construction cost indices, raised it to $26 million. $26 million is not before you here, but in the code there was a $10 million limit for local contracts. This uses the same, on line 30 to 33, would take the same threshold set at the state level and use it at the local level so that these smaller contractors can compete for straightforward work where you can get plans and specs and bid in the low price, be the successful bidder. So that's what the bill does. I hope it will be the pleasure of the House to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
The delegate from Rockingham, Delegate Wilt.
Madam Speaker, I wonder if the gentleman yield for a question.
Will the
I have to
delegate yield?
I yield.
Delegate will yield.
Madam Speaker, I'd ask the gentleman if in his work on this issue, did he ever do any cost comparisons on projects that were bid and constructed under the design build versus the sealed bid process?
Delegate Sickles.
The design, I don't think design build, even though it's in the title of this bill, is actually what this bill, even though it's prohibited in here for these contracts under this amount, the type of bidding that has been going on that has prevented a contractor in the gentleman's district from ever bidding a project at James Madison University, for example, there are tons of cost comparisons, and the sealed bid process is generally a lower price. And every contracting manual in the public sector that I've seen encourages the use of sealed bid, low bid pricing for projects that are straightforward, not complex, not historical preservation projects, not design projects that are extraordinarily hard to build, but straightforward projects that everybody understands. Plans and specs have been drawn so that everybody knows what it is, and those, generally speaking, that is the lowest way to spend your taxpayer dollars the most effectively.
Delegate Wilt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Tom. Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
Page 37, House Bill 923, a bill to amend and reenact sections 4.1, 100, and other sections of the Code of Virginia relating to alcoholic beverage control, interdiction, possession or consumption of alcoholic beverages by interdicted persons, repeal, reported from general laws with substitute.
The delegate from Prince William, Delegate Carol Foy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Carol Foy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 923 removes the habitual drunkard provision that was recently ruled unconstitutional by the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals concluded that Virginia's habitual drunkard law is unconstitutionally vague and arbitrary in enforcement against the homeless and people suffering from addiction. I hope it is the pleasure of the body to engross this bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 984, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding in Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 40.1 a section numbered 40.128.7:7 related to the misclassification of workers, cause of action, reported from Labor and Commerce.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Delaney.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker and members of the body, HB 984 provides for a civil action in court in Virginia for a misclassified employee to recover wages, benefits, and other forms of compensation and be awarded reasonable attorney's fees. The employer must have had knowledge of the misclassification in order for the employee to bring the suit. I hope it is the will of the body to engross this bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 1078, a bill to amend and reenact Section 2.2, 4302.2 of the Code of Virginia relating to the Virginia Public Procurement Act, process for competitive negotiation, including employment of persons with a disability as a factor that will be used in evaluating a proposal, reported from general laws with amendment.
The delegate from Arlington, Delegate Hope.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the committee amendment.
Shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The committee amendment is agreed to. Delegate Hope.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 1078 simply permits a locality, whenever they're evaluating bids, to consider those people that are being hired with people with disabilities. It will be a pleasure of the body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
Page 38, House Bill 1141, a bill to amend and reenact Sections 38.2, 508.1, and other sections of the Code of Virginia relating to health benefit plans, coverage for pre-existing conditions, reported from Labor and Commerce with substitute.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Tran.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I would like to move the substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Tran.
Thank you. House Bill 1141 would codify protections for pre-existing conditions by repealing the current section of the code that allows insurers to issue individual or group plans that do not meet the Affordable Care Act standards if the ACA is suspended or amended. I hope it's the will of the body to move this, to engross this bill and move it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 1199, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding in Article 2 of Chapter 3 of Title 40.1, a section numbered 40.1, 33.1, relating to prohibiting employers from retaliating against employees for reporting employee misclassification, civil penalty, reported from Labor and Commerce.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Tran.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Speaking to the bill,
Delegate Tran.
House Bill 1199 provides whistleblower protections so an employer can't discharge, discipline, threaten, discriminate against, or penalize an employee or independent contractor because that individual reported or plans to report worker misclassification. I hope it's the pleasure of the body to engross and pass this bill on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
House Bill 1442, a bill to amend and reenact Section 46.2-882 and to amend the Code of Virginia by adding a section numbered 46.2-882.1 relating to handheld photo speed monitoring devices, civil penalty, reported from Transportation with substitute.
The delegate from Norfolk, Delegate Jones.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? The committee substitute is agreed to. Delegate Jones.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 1442 provides local and state law enforcement with the option to use automated speed enforcement camera equipment in school or highway work zones only. It requires the review of any photographic evidence by sworn law enforcement personnel before a summons can be issued to the driver. The maximum fine will be $125. No court cost shall be imposed. Violations shall not impact the driver's DMV record or be reported for insurance purposes. And it requires the same due process as other laws utilizing camera enforcement. And there will be no automatic ticketing. It's just another technology tool for law enforcement in their toolkit. I hope it is the will of the body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
Page 39, House Bill 1511, a bill to amend and reenact Sections 46.2-1233 and 46.2-1233.1 relating to towing fees, reported from Transportation.
The delegate from Richmond City, Delegate McQuinn.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker and members of the House, House Bill 1511 will permit local boards of supervisors to raise the rate for towers that towers can charge during evening, weekends, and holiday fee from $25 to $30, a $5 increase. The fee has not been increased since 2003, 16 years ago. And it is critical to just to note that this fee is completely at the locality's discretion, meaning that you're not voting for the increase, but you're voting to allow your local board of supervisors to decide if there need to be an increased fee. I hope it be the pleasure of the body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
Returning to page 27 of the calendar, House Bill 887, a bill to amend and reenact Section 23.1707 of the Code of Virginia relating to Able Savings Trust Agreement, Medicaid clawback prohibition, reported from Health, Welfare, and Institutions.
The delegate from Petersburg, Delegate Aird.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, your bill, House Bill 887, provides that the beneficiary of an Able Savings Trust account may appoint a survivor. In the event of the beneficiary's death, the survivor becomes the new beneficiary of the account if they are eligible under federal law. This changes from current law when, in the instance, the Commonwealth will receive the funds as payment for benefits having been provided to the original beneficiary. I hope it will be the pleasure of the body to pass the bill on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The bill is engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
Returning to page 30 of the calendar, House Bill 582, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding in Chapter 4 of Title 40.1 an article numbered 2.2 consisting of sections numbered 40.1, 57.4, and other sections of the code relating to collective bargaining by public employees, labor organization representation, reported from Appropriations with amendments, reported from Labor and Commerce with substitute, and there are floor amendments.
Delegate from Arlington, Delegate Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Working with the patron, may this bill go by for the day?
All those in favor? HB 582 go by for the day. Say aye. Those opposed? 582 goes by for the day.
Resolutions on regular calendar. House Joint Resolution 148 has gone by until February 6th. Madam Speaker, that completes the calendar.
Per House Rule 51, the House has returned to morning hour. Does the clerk have any additional announcements or communications?
I have announcements of meetings scheduled for Tuesday afternoon, February 4th. General Laws Committee meets 15 minutes after adjournment of the House in House Room 3. This is a change in time, 15 minutes after adjournment. General Laws Open Government Procurement Subcommittee meets immediately upon adjournment of the full committee in House Room 3. General Laws ABC Gaming Subcommittee meets 2 hours after adjournment of full committee, House Room 3. Labor and Commerce meets 1/2 hour after adjournment of the House, House Committee Room. Labor and Commerce Subcommittee Number 1 meets immediately upon adjournment of the full committee. Labor and Commerce Subcommittee Number 2 meets immediately upon adjournment of Subcommittee Number 1, House Committee Room. Labor and Commerce Subcommittee Number 3 meets immediately upon adjournment of Subcommittee 2, House Committee Room. Appropriations, Compensation, and General Government Subcommittee meets 4 p.m., Shared Committee Room. Health, Welfare, and Institutions Health Subcommittee has been canceled. Transportation, Transportation Innovation, and General Topics Subcommittee meets 4 p.m., 400A Subcommittee Room. Career and Technical Education Caucus meets 4:30 p.m., 200B Subcommittee Room. Meetings for Wednesday morning, February 5th. Speakers Interfaith Devotional, 7 a.m., 6th floor, Speakers Conference Room. Agriculture, Chesapeake, and Natural Resources Subcommittee meets 7 a.m. This is a change in time, 7 a.m., House Room 3. Education Committee, 8 a.m., House Committee Room. Education, Post-Secondary, and Higher Ed Subcommittee has been canceled. Privileges and Elections, Gubernatorial Appointments Subcommittee meets 8 a.m., 400A Subcommittee Room. Joint Women's Healthcare Caucus meets 8 a.m., 300B Subcommittee Room. Women's Roundtable League of Women Voters meets 8:30 a.m., SunTrust Building, 4th floor, Tidewater Room. Agriculture, Chesapeake, and Natural Resources Committee meets 8:30 a.m. This is a change in time, 8:30 a.m., House Room 3. Communications, Technology, and Innovation Subcommittee has been canceled. Appropriations, Health, and Human Resources Subcommittee meets 9 a.m., 300A Subcommittee Room. Democratic Caucus meets 11 a.m., House Room 1. Republican Caucus meets 11 a.m., House Room 2. Madam Speaker, that completes the meetings.
The delegate from Norfolk, Delegate Jones.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May we return to the third morning hour of business?
Delegate Jones.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would ask that House Joint Resolution 177 on page 92 of the calendar go by until February 13th.
Delegate Jones moves that HJR 177 on page 19 goes by until
February 13th, Madam Speaker.
February 13th. All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed? Okay. Delegate from Clark County, Delegate Goditis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Although I see it on the House meeting schedule, I didn't hear an announcement that the Virginia Environment and Renewable Energy Caucus will meet this evening at 5 o'clock. It's on the House meeting schedule that I'm looking at, 300B. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Madam Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourn to reconvene Wednesday, February 5th, 2020 at 12 noon.
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring, moves that when the House adjourn today, it adjourn to reconvene at 12 o'clock noon. As many as favor the motion will say aye. Those opposed, the motion is agreed to. Wait, let's wait. Let's finish the morning, afternoon. Delegate Herring.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring, moves that the House do now adjourn. As many as favor the motion shall say aye. Those opposed, the motion is agreed to. The House stands adjourned until tomorrow, 12 o'clock noon.